If you're a contractor and you've been in business less than 5 years, the odds are stacked against you. More than likely, you're going to fail in the next 2 years. And it's not going to be because you don't work hard. In fact, contractors are some of the most hardest working people I know. But they are constantly making these 10 mistakes that are causing them to drain their time, drain their bank account, drain their resources, destroy their family, and it is just a disaster. In fact, construction companies are the second most failed business right behind restaurants. So when I say that you are going to fail in the next 2 years, this is not just my observation, but this is a statistic across the entire United States. In this video, I'm going to break down the 10 most common reasons contractors fail, and number 5 actually may surprise you. In fact, when I'm coaching contractors, number 5 is typically where my contractors find the biggest breakthroughs. I'm Liz Chism, and I help contractors just like yourself scale your business without 80-hour work weeks. Now, these 10 reasons are reasons that I have seen time and time again when working with contractors. And when we go through and fix all 10 of these things in their business, then we end up not just doubling their business, but tripling their business, doubling their profits, getting their time back, helping them have a vacation, and actually being able to reach their goals, like buying a house that's their dream house, or being able to take a 2-week vacation and turn their phone off. All of these things are possible if you fix these 10 things. If you want more real-world construction content, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give me a thumbs up so that way I can produce more content like this. Let's get started. Number 1 is only one lead source. This is where contractors end up just having one place they get their leads, whether that's with friends and family, word of mouth, whether that's only Yelp, only Google. For instance, I have an electrical contractor I work with who provides backup energy sources for homeowners, meaning that he does batteries, solar, and generators. Well, most of his leads are coming from the generator website because he's the only certified technician in the area to install these types of generators. And so as the website gets leads, he gets referral from them, and therefore he has business. However, when those referrals get slow or those referrals dry up, or other people come in the market and also get certified because he doesn't have a non-compete in the area, he now has all his eggs in one basket and he got slow, which is why he came to me and we set up a client acquisition system so he can grow his business and rely on all the things that he's got going on, all the fingers going out in the market, so that way he can grow his business and not rely on one lead source. In fact, right now, Google PPC and local ads are skyrocketing the amount of money people are paying just for an appointment, and they may not even close that appointment. These are hundreds of dollars that are going down the drain because that one lead source or just relying on SEO is not enough anymore. In fact, right now, we're all competing against AI. So AI is getting to decide what content to show which people based on search results. Yours may not even show up in ChatGPT or any of the other search engines like that. And so when you're only relying on one lead source, you're going to be up a creek without a paddle. Maybe it's today, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's in 2 years, but you've got to have more than one lead source. That is why I set up a whole ecosystem and I trap the attention of my clients or of my ideal clients, and then I'm able to market them consistently and I control that marketing. And guess what? When you do it on platform and you do it the right way, Facebook, Instagram, Google will not punish you for it. And so when you set up an ecosystem, not only do you have more than one lead source, but you have a fingering of lead sources that end up working with each other to help you create a consistent, reliable, predictable business instead of just hoping and praying that you have enough leads coming in that month to keep your guys busy. Number 2 is taking every job. Now, this is one of the biggest things that I work with contractors on because they end up just wanting to be busy. They have the wrong goals. So somebody wants a bathroom redone, they do a bathroom. Somebody wants a kitchen redone, they do a kitchen. Somebody wants some random addition on their house, they do the addition. But the problem is that some jobs are going to be more profitable than others. For instance, one of the guys I work with is a remodeler, and he was doing both kitchens and baths. And combined with the kitchens and the bath, his profit margins, his gross profit margins were only 23% because any job that came along that fit into bathrooms and kitchens, actually he was also doing sunrooms, and these were really low profit margins. Basically, across the board, as an average, he was only making 23% profit margins. By the time he paid his salary, he had paid his employees, and he paid for all of his overhead, he had zero left in the bank account. Now, most people approach this like, oh, I need to market more. I need more people to know about me. I need to spend money to go get more clients. But really, at the end of the day, you need more profit in your bank account. And so when you start analyzing what you're doing and how you're doing it, you can go, okay, My bathrooms are the most profitable part of my business, and kitchens don't make me much money, and sunrooms are I'm almost break even every single time. So what this contractor did is he literally stopped doing sunrooms. He stopped doing kitchens for the most part, but he ended up raising his prices on those. So that way, if he did do a kitchen, he made more money. And if he didn't do a kitchen, he wasn't that sad about it because he knew he wasn't going to make money anyways. And then he focused on bathrooms. Over a course of just a couple of months, he was able to raise his profit margins to 42%. This gave him so much more money in the bank. And now he was able to go, oh, I can hire this person. I can invest in this that's going to help leverage in my business. In fact, not only did his profit increase, but just this last quarter, he was able to double his entire revenue. So not only did he double his profits, but he also doubled his revenue. And so this is the power of not taking every single job that comes around. You want to be picking and choosing which jobs are going to be the most profitable for you so you can scale and grow your business, which leads me to number 3. Not charging a project management fee. Now, most of the time, as guys start out, they become the project manager. They wear all the hats. They're the accountant, they're the project manager, they're the admin, they're the owner, they're the worker sometimes. And when they are all the things, they end up forgetting to charge for those things. The problem is that you're not charging enough to the job in order to cover the hat that you're wearing for the project manager. And so when you're ready to go hire a project manager, you have no funds to go hire a project manager. And so therefore you have to keep all of the responsibilities, and then you become the bottleneck, and then you can't grow your business, and then you get worn out, and then it leads to all these other things that happen. So what you need to do is you need to add to every single one of your estimates from here on out a project management fee. Now, you don't have to pay yourself that fee. In fact, what a lot of guys do is they just take that fee and they just put it in a bank account. So that way, when they go and hire a project manager, they have their entire salary for an entire year just saved up in a bank account ready to go. So then when they hire the project manager, their cash flow doesn't go down. Their profits don't go down because they've already been planning for a project manager. This is where that 10x is better than 2x thinking is. That was a book that was written by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, where he talks about it's much easier to jump ahead and then work your way backwards versus just taking these tiny little steps. And so when you're like, okay, my business doesn't have a project manager, I am the project manager. What do? I'm going to start charging for being a project manager. I'm also going to charge for being an owner because I want to have overhead. And so when you start thinking bigger and when you start adding those fees into your estimate, you now have the ability to grow your business and not wear all the hats for the rest of eternity and end up failing your business. Now let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is poor cash flow management. This is where many people don't have cash flow. They have a cash dam. The money is literally stopped. Money's not coming in, money's not going out, and everything's a standstill. That is what's going to cause your business to fail, but there's a few ways to actually fix that. Number 1, don't be the bank or don't finance your client's project. For instance, if you have a $100,000 job and it's going to cost $10,000 to mobilize the job and $20,000 to order all the materials, that's $30,000. Most people think, okay, cool, I'm going to get a deposit for $30,000. Then they start the work, and a month later, they're now getting a deposit for all the work that they just finished. What you want to do is you actually want to get the deposit from not just mobilizing the job, not just ordering the materials, but all the labor you're going to need until that next project payment. That is how much you want to charge as a deposit. So that way you have the money in your bank account to pay your guys, to pay for anything that you need in order to make the job go. And then once you get to that progress payment point, you want to have enough money to not just pay for any more materials that need to be ordered or your labor, but you want to make sure that it's going to reach till that next progress payment. You don't want to be behind in your payments. This is called front loading your costs. You don't want to look in the reverse and go, okay, this is how much I need to cover what I've done in the last month and then get a progress payment for that. You don't want to finance the job. You want to stay ahead of the payments. The next thing that you don't want to do is use a deposit from another job in order to keep the progress going on the current job that's going. So what ends up happening is you're stealing from Peter to pay Paul, and you end up with this cash flow nightmare. The third thing that you don't want to do is use your line of credit for mobilizing a job or for paying for costs associated with the job. Someone's got to finance the job, and that should be the homeowner or the client, not you as the contractor. Now, obviously, if you are going to finance the job and you are going to upfront the money, then add a fee to that. That's why banks charge an interest rate. charge that fee. Now, one of the ways that my clients do it is they actually open up an escrow account, and all the money for the entire project goes into that escrow account. It's really not much money to open an escrow account, but when you do open an escrow account, not only can you access that money when you need to, but you know that the homeowner is not going to run away with your money or delay paying your money, and now you become stuck being the bank again. So when you open up an escrow account, you know that all the money for the entire project is there ready for you, and you can just take draws from it to pay for the progress as you go along in the job. Now, number 5 is hiring the wrong people for the wrong roles. Now, most of the time, people think, okay, I need this specific role, and then they go hire that specific role, and then they're stuck doing all the things that they hate doing. So for instance, a lot of owners end up hiring a project manager first because they're like, I just want to get off the tools. I just want to be in the office. If I could just have somebody oversee the subs, oversee the laborers, oversee the carpenters, I'd finally be able to relax and be able to grow my business. The problem is project managers cost a lot of money. Number 2, do you really want to be the admin for your own business and do all those $10 to $15 an hour jobs while your project manager gets to go do the fun stuff on the project, which you're really, really good at? So when you hire the wrong people for the wrong roles, you tend to get stuck in a way that you're not actually living the life that you want to live. This is why I use something called the Working Genius Assessment. So I take all my clients through that assessment. It takes about 10 minutes, so it's really easy, but it helps me identify what they really shine at, what they really like to do, what they really are good at, and we then delegate the rest. Typically, we're delegating admin roles. Typically, we're delegating social media management and bookkeeping and even laborers, because you end up hiring a project manager and then you end up becoming chief errand boy and run all over Home Depot and Lowe's getting all the random little parts that are needed on the job site, and you're not utilizing or leveraging your time well enough. And so you end up just becoming burned out and not growing your business. So when I use the Working Genius Assessment and I understand, okay, this is what you're really good at, this is what you love doing, this is what you could do every day, all day long, and you would love your job, let's keep you there and hire for everything else. Many times when I do a team assessment of an entire company, I see that there's a gap in the business where nobody can fulfill that role. So what we do is, instead of just hiring a body for a position, we hire for what somebody's really good at. When you're hiring for what somebody's really good at, you end up not needing to micromanage them. You don't have to babysit them. And so you end up hiring the key people that are going to help you get to that next point in your business, versus just hiring a warm body who can fog a mirror. And usually they're taking the stuff that you like to do, and so you're stuck doing all the things that you hate. Now we're going to move on to number 6, and that is keeping dead weight employees. So on the same topic of employees, a lot of times contractors keep the same employees year after year after year, and they end up just burning through cash keeping these employees on. You know that you have a dead weight employee when you try to put in systems and processes and it's just meet with resistance, or you're constantly having to check in with them, micromanage them, make sure they're doing their job, make sure they're doing what they need to do, make sure that they're not making mistakes. And when you have to micromanage somebody that much, you're spending your time and your energy and your effort on that one employee, which is burning through cash because you can't shift your focus to growing your business and working on your business. Now, I hear all the excuses. Oh, they've been in my business for years. Oh, they're a friend. Oh, they know how to do everything. Oh, if I fire them, then I have to jump back in the tools. What I want you to remember is that you always upgrade when you hire, because you can learn from your past mistakes and then hire somebody better. In fact, most of the time when I work with somebody, we tend to have to lay off, or somebody quits within the first 90 days of their business. But once that one person quits, that one dead weight employee quits, all is well in the business, and we can start seeing that growth. In fact, sometimes it's 2 or 3 employees, but at the same time, we're positioning the business in a way that you're attracting the right employees. And so none of my guys really have a problem hiring, because now they're becoming a company that's well known, that has a good reputation, and a lot of people want to go work for them. And so you're end up just replacing those deadweight employees and adding on the employees that are going to help you grow and help you not have to babysit or micromanage your employees, because deadweight employees cost you more money than is worth. They're costing you rework. They're costing you complaints from the client. They're costing you all sorts of things. So get rid of them in a nice, respectful way and hire somebody that's going to help you grow your business. Now, number 7 is bad estimates or underbidding. This is probably the number 1 mistake I see across all the contractors I ever work with. They do not charge enough for the work that they do. And the reason is because they think that nobody will pay for a higher bid, and so therefore they cut their costs. But the problem is that when you position yourself with value, you position yourself as a reliable contractor, you can actually charge more and still get the job. In fact, one of the electricians I work with, he ended up going into a whole house rewire and ended up being $10,000 over the next bid. And guess what? He still got the job. Why? Because he used all of our systems and processes to create that trust, build certainty, build clarity, and he was able to get the job and get more money for it. Now, that money was what he actually needed to cover all of his expenses. He's not being unfair. He is being more than fair. He just needs to charge that extra $10,000 over the previous ones. The other most common mistake I see among contractors is that they confuse markup versus margin. Those are two things that are completely different, and honestly, most people don't understand what the math is. So let's say a job cost this many fingers, and I'm going to make it super simple for you. So you have your labor and your materials. It costs this much. If you want a 50% markup, you say 50% and you add 50% on it. So now you have 3 fingers. That's what the job is, and that's what you charge. Now the problem is that when you have 3 fingers, now your profit is only, compared to the whole amount, is only 33%. So what you thought was 50% is actually 33%. So now most people mark up about 30%, give or take. Some people do 25, some people do 35, but around 30%. So if you mark up your subs, your materials, your labor, 30%, you're actually only getting a 23% margin. Now, I know this is a lot of numbers and most people don't have the brain for the numbers. So that's why we built a calculator that does all of this for you. And you can just slide how much markup you want, and then it calculates what the margin is and what you should be aiming for and what you could be getting if you charged appropriately. And so when you don't understand markup versus margin, you tend to underbid, thinking that you're going to make a lot of money, and then you don't. The other mistake that a lot of people make when underbidding is that they always think optimistically with their estimates. They think that nothing's going to go wrong, that everything's going to go right, and there's no buffer in their estimates. So if one little thing goes wrong, labor goes up a little bit, overtime had to happen to get the job done on time, whatever it is, there's no buffer, and that's literally stealing from your profits in order to get the job done, which is why some people, when I do a job audit, they end up paying the client money to get the job done. So for instance, one client paid $30,000 of their own money to get the job done because there were so many overages in the labor that they ended up losing so much money on it. And so this is why it's very important to not only not underbid and do a right estimate, but then to job cost afterwards so you can see, okay, was I accurate or was I not accurate? Did I predict well, like 100%, or am I off by 10%? If you're off by 10%, that could be all your profit, and no wonder you have a cash flow problem, and no wonder you're broke, and no wonder you're probably going to fail in the next 2 years. Now, the next one is my favorite, and that's no systems or processes. Most people don't have a predictable, reliable way of running their business. Everything is in their head. They are the bottleneck, and they cannot delegate to save themselves. And they keep all of the knowledge because they don't know how to get it out of their head and onto a piece of paper or into a video so that others can follow them. But when you follow my very, very simple SOP process that I teach inside my program, literally within 10 minutes, we literally make SOPs within 10 minutes, and those SOPs have changed businesses. In fact, one guy took this SOP, implemented it, and it took him one conversation to implement that SOP. And when he implemented that SOP, not only did he finish the job early, but he also had 0 callbacks and 0 rework on that job. So 10, 15 minutes of doing this SOP, implementing it, and seeing those results is crazy for their business. In fact, he was finishing last year at about $750,000. This year, he's on track to do $2 million because he's been doing the systems and processes and not sitting down at a computer, typing out every step of the way, trying to figure out what the next step is and hoping his guys follow it. No, it's a very simple process for him to put in systems and processes, create that predictability, streamline how things fit together, so that way everything runs like a machine and he can grow and scale. He's been able to hire a project manager, hire an admin, hire a salesperson, and be able to get off the tools and focus on his business, which is where he likes to focus on because we did the Working Genius assessment and he's been able to grow his business. Systems and processes are also the #1 way to actually increase your profit. So most of the time you want to increase your revenue. Oh, I'm a $2 million business. Look how big I'm growing. But most of the time when you're growing that big and that fast, you tend to lower your profits, add on more work more hours, and neglect your family and your friends and all of that type of stuff. And so when you focus on systems and processes and you actually implement them into your business so they work in your business, then you not only can increase your profit, but you can also grow your business without growing your time. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit and go to number 9, which is burnout. Burnout is such a big thing in the construction world because contractors on average are working 60 to 80 hours a week. And when you do that consistently, you end up missing out on your family, missing out on activities with friends, forgetting your wife, and not really focusing on the things that you need to focus on. Now, you may think, well, I'm actually doing pretty good. I mean, yeah, I work 60 hours, but I like what I do. But here's a couple signs of burnout that you may not be thinking about. So you could be going to burnout if you've not taken a vacation in at least the last year and been able to turn your phone off and ignore it for that entire vacation. If you can't do that, you're leading to burnout. If you have ever had the thought that you should just throw in the towel, give up on your business, and go get a real job, like a 9 to 5, so that way you can leave work at work, you can come home at a predictable time, and you can actually live life, even if you're going to somehow sacrifice your freedom, those thoughts means that you're starting to get burned out. This one may surprise you, but inconsistent date nights with your spouse are also going to lead to burnout or are a sign of burnout. So if you're constantly putting your family on the back burner or putting your friends on the back burner, then you're going to get burned out at some point in time. Recently, I heard an illustration of business owners are like juggling balls. And we end up thinking that our business is a glass ball, that if we drop our business, the glass is going to shatter. But at the same time, we think that our friends and family is just a bouncy ball. Oh, it's okay. We can ignore them. It'll come back up. We can not have a date night with our wife every week and, well, she'll bounce right back. And so we tend to get those things reversed. But what's really needing to happen is you need to treat your friends and family as a glass ball, that if you drop that ball, it's going to shatter. And your health is in that as well. And you want to think about your business as a bouncy ball. If you have a slow season for a couple of weeks because you focused on your family, that ball is going to bounce right back up because you know what to do when you have the systems and processes and the strategies in place that you're going to get that business back. But when you drop your family and it's a glass ball, that could be relationships destroyed forever. Divorce, family not talking to you. There's so many different types of things. In fact, I was experiencing the exact same thing years ago when I owned a brewery, and I literally thought that my brewery was the glass ball. And so I held on to that so tightly that I did not let it go, but I let go of all of these things. In fact, my brother-in-law's 40th birthday party, that was this entire huge thing, we weren't even invited to because we had dropped that ball. Now, thankfully, we were able to build those relationships again and apologize for ignoring them, and we've been able to mend that. But that is not a common example. When you break those relationships, it's really hard to get them back and to build that trust again. And last but not least is no sales or marketing system. This could also be considered as no client acquisition system. So you've got the marketing to tell everybody about who you are, and so people can find you. And then you have your sales that you convert that awareness into closed sales, and they become clients, and you do the project. Now, most of the time, people don't even have a system. I also see this when you do a lot of estimates and then just get a few clients. So when you don't have a system on how to turn those estimates into paying clients, you have a broken or non-existent system to get clients. In fact, there's a lot of guys that are really good at what they do, and they do a ton of estimates, and then they get one deal. They're like, okay. And so they spend way too much time estimating jobs when they should be spending time growing their business. They think that doing all those estimates will turn into more business, but if you don't have a proven process on how to actually transition somebody from an estimate to a closed sale, then you're really just spending a ton of time spinning your wheels, being on that hamster wheel where you just go, 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 and the faster you go, nothing really happens because you don't have a client acquisition system for your business. This is why we've built the ROI Builder CRM, so where we automate all of this, and then our Get Her Done community is how to teach you what to do and what to say and how to do it, so that way you can literally get clients effortlessly and with very little ad spend. So if you don't have a sales and marketing system and you're just guessing at all of it, then you're going to be one of the contractors who will fail in the next 2 years. Because like I said, contracting companies are the second most failed business across all the businesses in the entire United States of America. If you noticed, none of these mistakes rely on you working harder. It's a different strategy, a different way of doing things, and really looking at your business as a business and not just a job you own. If you're ready to stop all these mistakes and start putting in the right strategies, the right systems, the right processes to grow your business effortlessly without working those 80 hours a week, without leading to burnout, without low profits, you want that business that's going to help you be successful and get the freedom, then click below so you can join the Contractors Roundtable Mastermind. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.